Welcome to the Emergent Human, where we explore optimizing health, embodied spirituality, and post-conventional living. I'm Michael Ostrolenk, a therapist, coach, and educator, and I'm your host. One of the three pillars of the Emergent Human podcast is optimizing health. Part of my own process in doing so is being a member of an organization known as Life Force. I joined Life Force after reading the book Life Force by Tony Robbins and Peter Diamandis in order to get the support I needed to take my health to its next level. I'm happy to announce that Life Force is now a show sponsor. Life Force membership provides you with at-home diagnostics, access to functional medicine doctors, health coaches, advanced nutraceuticals, hormones, and peptides. Life Force creates a customized plan tailored to your goals and blood work results to help you optimize your health. Their diagnostic is one of the most affordable, convenient, and comprehensive blood tests out there. If you've been looking for a more personalized approach to improve your health in the new year, check them out at lifeforce.com and use the code EmergentHuman15 for 15% off your first purchase.
At LifeForce, we help you take control of your health and stop settling for average. Every 3 months, we'll measure over 40 biomarkers that drive your mental and physical health, all from the comfort of your home. From that data, we create your personalized plan to help you get optimized. And no plan is complete without ultra-personalized care from our experienced medical doctors and health coaches, all just a text away. So, what are you waiting for? It's time to redefine what's possible with LifeForce.
I'd like to welcome Darryl Edwards to the Emergent Human podcast. Darryl is a movement coach, author of the best-selling books Animal Moves and My First Animal Moves, and a thought leader in the area of creativity and innovation in fitness and health. Darryl developed the Primal Play Method to inspire others to make physical activity fun while getting healthier and more robust in the process. Good to see you, Darryl.
Oh, welcome. Thanks so much for a great introduction. And I'm so looking forward to having a wonderful conversation.
And I want to, I will plug your various cool different things you have as we continue this conversation. But, I watch you on Instagram and in various other places, and you literally live your play. Like, you do the most coolest stuff in a very playful way. I'm like, man, that is so cool, right? But how did play come to be the driving force behind what you do in the physical space? Or in other areas of life too? Maybe.
Yeah, so, I suppose the starting point has to be childhood. So I was fortunate enough, a child of the 70s, I was fortunate to have, child play as was the norm back then. So lots of outdoor play, lots of parents saying, get outdoors, don't want to see you until it's time for something to eat or when the sun goes down. And I feel blessed to have that type of childhood because it gave me the opportunity to explore the world around me, explore my own capabilities, lots of interaction with my peers at all different ages. And so I was a free range kid. And most of the kids, well, not even most, all of the kids I knew were also free range kids. And as I entered my teens and you get a little bit more serious about your academic pursuits and what you want to achieve as an adult, play was kind of pushed to one side. So play then became structured and sport based. And if you're fortunate enough to be, excel at sport, you could still continue to, in quotation marks, play. But if you couldn't quite make the first team, and I struggled to make the B team in many areas, then you missed out on those play opportunities. You had to stick with physical education, which was kind of very military style, boot camp style. My PE teacher was like a sergeant major, absolutely brutal. But the best time of year, of the school year, was at the end of a school term, as you say, semesters. So at the end of our school terms, we'd have like 3 periods. So our PE lessons were basically, you can do whatever you want for that 40-minute session. And so we played dodgeball, we'd play, tag, we'd just use the equipment in the school as our own playground. And so those days I've never, ever forgotten. Constantly looking back, very nostalgic. And when I encountered physical activity as an adult in terms of exercise and thinking about my health, so I was fortunate enough to work within investment banking as a technologist. And that meant lots of sitting in front of screens, very long hours, work pretty much to, kept working because, the source of funding for the bank relied on it. So I was pivotal to ensuring the bank's operations were working optimally, which meant I was one of very few individuals who could do that work and deliver that work. So very lucrative, certainly a meritocracy, but my health suffered. So I slept very few hours every night. I wasn't a coffee drinker, but I certainly went through a few cans of Red Bull every morning to keep going. Breakfast was a Snickers bar or 2. So an awful diet. I was very sedentary. And then to top it off at night, I was pretty much just insomniac or being called and disturbed to be on call pretty much 24/7. So going to my doctor, having an annual health checkup and being told, oh, Mr. Edwards, you're pre-diabetic, you have chronic stage 2 hypertension, you have a really poor lipid profile, increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Basically, you could drop dead in 5 to 10 years. What do you mean? I'm really young. I'm in my 30s. I'm like, well, your lifestyle, or actually, they didn't even mention lifestyle. There's obviously a genetic predisposition, and you need to start this cocktail of medication right now. What happens if I don't? You're going to die prematurely. Okay, I don't want that to happen. What's the drugs? Statins for your cholesterol issues, beta blockers for your blood pressure, and metformin to control your blood sugars. Okay, that sounds great. When can I start? Immediately. What about the side effects? We'll manage those. Don't worry about them. How long? When will I be fixed? This is a lifelong journey. So I slammed the brakes on. I was like, whoa, hold on a second. Is there anything else that I can do? And I remember reading probably within that last year about exercise being a great way to manage blood pressure. So I said, well, hey, let me first at least try and manage my blood pressure and go to the gym and start exercising. And that's what happened. So I started exercising, and not only did my blood pressure improve, but also my blood sugars improved and my lipids improved, my cholesterol, my triglycerides. They all improved within a very short space of time. So within 1 to 3 months, I went from Darryl, red flags all over the place. You need these meds to, oh, actually, things are looking a lot better. Let's keep monitoring you. But for now, you're outside of the danger zone. And I remember thinking to myself, doctor, if there are any changes, get me on the meds right away. But that sort of continued. And my interest in physical activities medicine was born then.
Let me ask you a question. Did the doctor recognize that you manage these 3 things through fitness?
Not immediately. So what happened was my doctor went away to the Maldives. So that shows you how comfortable he was in terms of his choice of vacation locations. And he says, hey, we'll just run your bloods again. I'll give you a call with an update. If everything's fine, you'll hear from me when I get back from vacation. So he gave me a call whilst on vacation. So of course, there was lots of anxiety around that phone call. And he's like, Darryl, I need to have a conversation with you. I need to talk to you. He's like, are you taking meds from, have you taken prescription meds from anyone else? I was like, no, I'm not taking anything at all. He's like, well, these results look fantastic. Is it an anomaly? What have you been doing? So I explained to him what I'd done. And he said, I need to have a look into the research here because I have no idea why this is occurring. And I said to him, what do you mean research? Thinking I was going to be sort of a guinea pig or something. I said, what do you mean by research? He explained, there's literature around the benefits of physical activity and exercise. Let me have a look into this and see if this is the reason why you've achieved these outstanding improvements in your health markers. And so I said to him, hey, can you send me some of that literature? Whatever it is, can you send that to me? Because I'd be interested as well. And so the next sort of year or so, he began a case study with some of his other patients. And he started kind of introducing exercise. So he kept asking me, so what exactly are you doing? How long for? What intensity? Tell me what you're doing. And I want to prescribe this to some of my patients. So that kind of sparked my interest in exercise science and the impact of exercise on our physiology. And I know you started asking me about play, and I suppose the next stage of me deciding, okay, I'm healthier. People are noticing the difference. I don't feel qualified enough to be able to offer advice. I need to cross train. So I became a personal trainer. I started studying exercise physiology. I got mentored in lots of different disciplines. I decided to quit. I wanted to run a black box gym, quit my job. I wanted to run a black box gym, 6 members, just filled with bankers who could afford to pay me lots of money to train, hardcore training. That was my dream. Until I started to fall out of love with exercise. So I remember maybe a year, 18 months into that journey of my blood test coming back. Everything's great, Darryl. You don't need any meds. Keep doing what you're doing. This is working really well. My body composition started to improve. I looked a lot healthier. My sleep started to improve. I started focusing on better nutrition. I was like, I feel absolutely fantastic, but I hate the gym. I only love.
Yeah, let me ask you, just so I'm clear, so listening audience, viewing audience, clear, what were you doing at the gym at the time so we can compare and contrast the structured work to play that you do now?
Yeah, so I started off, thanks for asking this question because it's something I could easily miss from the discussion. But around this time, which is around the early 2000s, so that's sort of 2002, 3, somebody sent me a video and said, you have to, when I was kind of, thinking I need to get into the gym. And somebody said, you need to watch this training video. And so I was like, okay, he says, you've never seen anything like this. So I watched a training video of the actors and the stunt men and women in the movie 300.
Oh, okay.
And I remember thinking, what is this? So my thoughts of the gym back then were, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'll probably do something like body pump, or I'm going to do some bicep curls and look at myself in the mirror, some bench presses, that sort of thing, use the machinery, bored out of my skull, versus what I saw in this training video of like people doing bear crawls and using kettlebells. I hadn't seen a kettlebell before, doing Olympic lifts. I was like, I want to do that. I have no idea how, but that's exactly what I want to do. So myself and a few of my colleagues basically started looking at this type of training. And what appealed to me the most about this style of training was the director said, I want the actors, or want the viewers, when they see these actors on screen, to believe that they could do what you see on the screen. So they're not just training to get jacked, they're training to perform functionally. So that was, again, my first foray into functional and being aware of functional fitness, and about general preparedness. So not training for specific function, but training for kind of general and broad fitness capabilities. So I was like, I'm sold, and it looks exciting, and this is what I want to do. So it was kind of in the vein of CrossFit, I suppose. And the instructor for 300 was a guy called Mark Dwight, who had a gym called Jim Jones in Salt Lake City. And I basically followed their workouts online. I was like, oh, this is just incredible. Before I heard of CrossFit, then I realized CrossFit was doing something similar. And so I started training in a CrossFit type of methodology. Became a CrossFit coach, level 1, and I was doing my level 2. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do, something like this. And then I started doing the Jim Jones pathway. which I felt was even better than CrossFit, almost like a superset of CrossFit. And I suppose what ended my love affair with that was I didn't enjoy the process whatsoever. I enjoyed getting my name on the leaderboard. So if I was the best or the fastest or the strongest, I was like, yes, 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 yes. If I wasn't, completely hated it. I couldn't accept that anyone could be fitter, stronger, faster, more flexible, more, whatever. I was like, I can't accept it. I hate it. Even though there were many reasons why I couldn't be the best in all areas, but it's like still not acceptable. I want to train until I get there. And then secondly, I realized a lot of that was about punishment. How much punishment can you sustain to be able to prove yourself within this sport of fitness? Started getting injured regularly. Started putting off training. I'll do it tomorrow, procrastination. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I've still got the gains that I've worked on for the last few years. And I realized I was kind of talking about fitness more than doing it, and I certainly wasn't enjoying it. So that transition from sedentary to exercising a lot, evangelizing about exercise, getting into this kind of CrossFit way of training, to then realizing, hold on a second, what's happening here where my body's saying, well, this is good. You're feeling great. You're getting fitter, you're getting stronger. Like you've never been as strong and as fit as you are now. But my brain was saying, and my heart was certainly saying, but you don't like this. You don't love this. This isn't you. You're not passionate about this. You're forcing yourself to love this. And that's why you are reluctant to continue this in the long term. And so I had a heart-to-heart whilst I was on kind of a mastermind with Jim Jones, and I was like 3/4 of the way through from being the first UK or European Jim Jones kind of accredited trainer. So I'd have been able to open my box in London. I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. I remember saying to him, hey, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I remember saying to him, I don't want to do box jumps anymore. I'd rather jump over fences. And I basically started explaining to him that I preferred a more playful approach. And he looked at me as if I was just losing my marbles. He was just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. He went, if you want to go off and play, then play. And so that was the moment where I decided I want to leave all of that behind. And I want to focus very much on a more playful path, which I'll discuss.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. Like, have you always been that courageous? Because I could imagine, like, I'm in a program with this like influencer guy, and I'm about to tell him I'm 3/4 of the way through that. Oh no, I'm not doing it. Like, I have my own path. That takes a lot of courage, I would imagine.
It does take a lot of courage because I spent a lot of time, a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a significant amount of validation. It's a very small community of people they feel are worthy of representing their brand. So it wasn't like, I don't want to disparage CrossFit, but almost anyone can become a CrossFit trainer. If you pay your money, yeah, you're welcome. With Jim Jones, it's like, we need to assess you first before we can see if you're even worthy. So there's like some psychological assessments, there's like physical assessments. Can you do this stuff before we even begin this journey? So I felt as if I've been proving myself for a long time. And but I suppose it was similar to when I left technology investment banking, which I knew I was guaranteed I was going to be set up financially for the rest of my life if I carried on. Like no worries, no financial worries, no concerns. But I decided I wanted to follow my passions. So that was in some respects a foolhardy decision. In many respects, I literally went off a cliff in terms of, hey, I want to do something different. What? I didn't save up prior. I didn't get any sort of business or entrepreneurial education prior. It literally was a leap of faith. I'm going to leave. I want to do something different. I can always go back. There's always a way back if I really want to go back. And it was similar, I suppose, with me questioning the ethos of Jim Jones and this like die in the gym mentality. Do you know what I mean? This kind of Spartan, like put everything on the floor and treat your fitness regimen as if I'm about to die. Right? I've got to give it 100%. And what changed for me was questioning myself around, why don't I want to go to the gym more frequently? Why do I have to drag myself out of the door every single time I contemplate going to the gym? Even though I know I'm going to feel great when I finish.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be some achievement. I know there's going to be some success. I know there's going to be some progress. I know that's going to happen. I know there's going to be some accomplishment. So why is that a concern for me deep down? And I realized it's because I didn't enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, and when I asked myself, okay, Darryl, when was the last time you loved movement? Loved it. So as an adult, it was going to clubs, listening to music I loved, and dancing. Yeah, going to clubs and dancing and not thinking about carry burn, not thinking about muscles being sore, just thinking, hey, I love the music. I'm just gonna keep dancing. If I can, I will. And so that was the kind of adult. Hey, I just really love this, and nothing's gonna stop me, right? Apart from having to go to sleep to go to work the next day. That was basically it. And then I was thinking, hey, what about where else? And it was all about my childhood. It was all about, hey, you remember when you lived for play, when you couldn't wait to wake up, go to your friend's place, knock on the door, hey, do you want to come out and play? And the days that I pretty much starved. Because you're like, I don't want to eat. I just want to, I just want to keep playing. Yeah, I just want to run around and keep playing. And like, you're literally being dragged in to be fed because you have to eat. But you're just like stuffing the food down your face as quickly as possible so you can get back outside again and experience that fun with your friends.
What was your kind of play as a kid? What was the environment and what did you guys all do?
Yeah, I mean, I was a city boy, but it was, I mean, pretty much everything that the human body is capable of as a kid. So it could be being on a bike for miles. It could be climbing trees in the autumn we call it scrumping for apples. So when apples are in season, you climb a tree, and you wouldn't climb a tree in your own back garden. If you had the most beautiful apples in your garden, you couldn't care less. You wanted to go somewhere where hopefully they don't know you, or your parents, more importantly, they don't know your parents. You want to sneak into their garden, you want to, have somebody watching out, somebody getting a leg up to get over the fence, somebody shaking the tree, get the apples, hearing somebody go, oh, what are you doing, you kids? Getting back over the fence. So, so really interestingly, the risky, like, and challenging and on that, veering on that, borderline, not wanting to get into trouble, but like playing with this risk all of the time. What can we do? What can we get away with? What can we make sure we do that? Even if we get caught, we're not going to be grounded for the whole summer holidays. How far can we go from home? So when I think about some of the distances we covered, I mean, we covered miles, and had to find our way back. Like, where's home? No idea. Like, we're just riding our bikes. Like, yeah, just go. It's like, oh, okay, guys, we've got to get back. So managing to find our way back, climbing trees, building dens or forts. I think, as you say in the US, so building dens, like finding abandoned. We'd find abandoned houses, and we tend to be demolition experts. And again, very dangerous environments in many respects. Floorboards have disappeared, and you're like, hey, let's just go upstairs and let's look what it's like. Let's look at the ground floor. When I think about it now, very dangerous environments, very unsafe. But there was an awareness of making sure we were safe, making sure that we looked after each other, making sure that we had some progression in terms of our physical capabilities. So you'd see what the older kids were doing. You're like, yeah, when I'm 14, I reckon I'm gonna be able to do that. When I'm 10, I'll do that. When I'll be able to climb that tree that high. Oh, he's not climbing down, he's able to jump down. So that was my childhood of play. And of course we played lots of sports as well. But the sports were kind of like, we've got minimal equipment. So if we're playing football or soccer, we might play soccer with a tennis ball, a football if we've actually got one, a football that probably needs to be pumped up with air, doesn't really matter. Goalposts would be like jumpers, or like tin cans. We'd make up the rules as we went. So for me, it was like a complete immersion in play. It didn't matter how good you were at a particular sport. You had, there was lots of equalization. So kids of different ages could play. So if you were 15, you're playing with like 10 and 12-year-olds, you'd make sure that 15-year-old wasn't just going to be the boss at absolutely everything. Right? Okay, you're playing by yourself against 6 kids, 6 of the youngers, so we can keep it balanced. Right? So for me, there were so many lessons from my childhood that I wanted to recapture as an adult, but not in a childish way, but in a childlike way. And that's how Primal Play was born. It was like, how can I recapture that joy of movement? How can I capture that kind of curiosity about movement? Looking at a tree and going, I want to climb it. How can I get that again? And so I started training by myself, going to my local park, quit my gym membership, and looking at the park as my playground, getting lots of people staring at me going, what the heck is this guy doing? Yeah, who is this? But the questions were incredible. So I got kids stopping and staring and asking me, well, what are you doing? Asking their parents, what is that guy doing? I had parents asking me after a while, hey, you're training in quite an unusual way. What's this about? And I remember saying to people, like, I'm training for life. I'm training to have fun with movement. And some people, it resonated. They were like, this looks great. Are you coaching anyone? Are you running group sessions? And I was like, well, actually, I probably should, because I need to make some money out of this. So that was kind of the genesis of Primal Play, of me going outside, looking at the world differently, and then realizing I didn't just want to play by myself all the time. Hopefully, I can find people where this resonates with them. And it literally was people seeing me bear crawling. I remember bear crawling in the park. I remember some people jogging, and they were like, why don't you just jog? They asked me, they said, why aren't you jogging? Why are you crawling on the ground? And I remember saying to them, like, this is far more beneficial than what you're doing now, which is hardly taking any effort. You could be running for the rest of the day just like that. You do this just for 100 meters, and you'll see what this does to the body. I remember challenging them, and I'm like, oh, it's just crawling, it's easy. And they started bear crawling, like huffing and puffing after a few steps. And I was like, this is why I continue to do this. So I built a bit of a following locally, and I started hosting groups. And I remember my personal training clients who originally were clock watching, and who would be saying, they'll be arriving late, clock watching, asking when the session's going to be over, like quitting 6, they pay for 10 sessions, they'd quit after 6. And when I started this kind of more playful approach, my sessions would always end with like, it's over. Oh, like, can we stay for longer? Can we, and I, as a coach, was actually participating throughout my sessions with my clients. I was like, I don't just want to stand here giving commands. This is too much fun just to watch you do this. So I pretty much ended up playing with my clients. Yep. And thinking, isn't this incredible? I'm being paid to play. I'm getting fitter because I'm moving with you as well. It's much more engaging for both of us. And my clients were happier, and I was having much better retention of clients. It was starting to spread word of mouth. So that was the early days of Primal Play. But a few issues were around monetizing. Yeah. So it was like, it's great, I'm having fun, I'm playing, but I'm running out of the meager savings that I had. I need a way of systemizing this approach and to become really serious about this, but still keep the play ethos. So there was lots of conflict for a few years, I'd say. I'm like, I almost want to do this for free. Hey, just play, the whole world should play. But how am I going to pay my bills? Who cares about bills? Just keep playing. And then going, no, I need to find a way of making this sustainable for me, and to be able to offer different levels of access to me, whether it's through my blog content or by writing books, by having one-to-one sessions, by whatever it happens to be. I need to create a system that works, that plays for me, but also having some evidence supporting what I was doing. So I had the play experience, but I didn't have any of the kind of play psychology understanding. I was like, I need to know what this does to my body. Why is this better for me than exercise? For example, why is this better for my mind and body than mindless reps in the gym? I need to understand this. So that's then when evolutionary biology and evolutionary fitness became a key part of this, play psychology became a key part of this, and exercise science, and all of those three pillars became the Primal Play Method.
Yeah, and I love you because you have a methodology, but you have a system, and you kind of teased a little bit of the system, like books, and obviously, moves, playing cards. You got shirts, you got your books there. But literally walk us through. So someone's gonna listen to this and go, okay, cool. Like, yeah, the gym reps, that's boring as shit. I'm not interested in that. Maybe they've done the functional fitness thing. They're like, okay, that got me to a certain level, but like, I'm more like Darryl. Like, I really don't want to do this anymore after 10 years of like puking at the CrossFit gym, whatever the story is. It's like I want to go play. Cool. As part of my fitness. Like, how do they do that with you? How do they learn from you?
Yeah, how do they learn? Yeah, I mean, the best place is coming to my website, because that sort of leads you along this playful path. Because what I realize now about play is many of us have to undo, almost reverse engineer, the playful past that we had. So we almost need to regress back to our childhood and go, oh, why was play important to me back then? And once you realize that and realize you can harness it again, we have to go through that process and start to feel comfortable in harnessing that. So I would say probably for the first few years, there's some embarrassment in, oh my gosh, do I want people to see me playing? Do I want to talk about play? Are people going to think I'm a clown? Also just some big kid who can't let go of his childhood? There were lots of doubts around this until I realized, and the science kind of validates this, is that play is a superset of work. Playing out is a superset of working out. So once people realize that play can actually achieve far more for them in terms of active play than they can by working out. And what I mean by that is you remove the barriers in relation to what you believe is possible to achieve, right? So I feel, if I want to improve my strength, for example, I could go to the gym, deadlift, bench press, back squat. Whereas now for me, I'm like, oh, I want to fireman carry someone. I want to fireman carry a couple of people if I can. I want to push a car. I want to I want to feel as if I'm a superhuman. And it's just a mindset shift. It's like, yeah, of course, there are real limitations, right, in terms of what I can do, but I want to test myself in ways that are, in a gym setting, almost one-dimensional.
I love that you brought up the mindset, because what I heard you say is like, yeah, you have to deconstruct the programming of the past, and like open up to all the possibilities that are out in front of you, and that those two together allow the the play to really emerge.
Yeah, exactly, because it's play is certainly innate. Play is part of our DNA. We don't need to be taught how to play. It's instinctive. It's common to all animals. Yeah, we've got to get our own way. Yeah. So, and I often think about and reference the animal kingdom, and I think, if you think of a big cat, the animal moves exactly. If you think of a big cat, right? A big cat doesn't decide, when they're an adult, I'm not going to play chasing games anymore. I'm not going to play fight anymore. I'm only going to focus on hunting, mating, and caring after my young. That's it. Just only survival is what's important for me, right? But as adult humans, that's what we tend to do. We're like, hold on a second, put the playful side, parts to one side. We've got to focus on all this serious stuff. And so adult humans forget how to play. Whereas you can have a very old, even a domesticated pet like a dog, you can get a very old dog who's like, they're in pain, they've got arthritis, they struggle. But as soon as they're in a playful spirit, that like their youthfulness comes back, right? They're like, I can still play chase, not as well as I used to, but I can still play chase. I can still be inquisitive and curious, and like my eyes can light up, and I can start wagging my tail because I know I'm playing again. Whereas adult humans are like, play, drinking alcohol, play, going to Vegas, play. We have these kind of human adult forms of play, which are very narrow in scope, often kind of destructive in many respects, even in the short term. Whereas there's this other aspect of play, which is like, I can explore pretty much the entirety of my being in a playful capacity, and that can translate to whatever I'm doing. So I'm a musician, for example. So I can realize that creativity through music. I could be an artist. I could be a comic. I could, flirt better. Like whatever it is that you feel that you want to explore in a playful way, all those kind of open up to you. And I find many adults have great difficulty accessing that. Even for myself, it took several years of undoing the seriousness of banking, suits, cufflinks, looking great, feeling great, patronizing anyone else who wasn't working in that field, thinking whatever anyone else did wasn't serious enough. I remember once thinking about that world. I remember once being almost fired. My colleague and I were almost fired for laughing at the water cooler. A boss called us into the office and he was like, Darryl, and I won't say the person's name, like, you Darryl and Chris. I was it. Darryl and Chris, we had reports of you, like a bit of a foray. What happened? What happened? What did we do? What did we do? You were laughing. Yeah. And you do understand it's a really serious work environment, Darryl. We're here to make money, not here for jolly, not here for hilarity. We're here to stay. We're here to be serious. And you're like, okay, I'll conform. I won't come to work or laugh. I'll keep the laughter outside. But it was robbed from me and for many of my colleagues.
Yeah.
And so fun for my colleagues would definitely be going out after work and getting as many pints of beer down themselves as possible, taking recreational drugs. That was their way to access some fun outside of the working environment. So yeah,
you're a mind reader, because I was going to ask you. I would imagine, and you just answered this really brilliantly, like that you start playing in this space, and play just starts showing up in other areas of your life. It's literally a body mindset. I don't know if you want to put it that way, but like, it is a mindset, and it shows up in the body as like, I'm open, and I can play in anywhere.
yes,
In my relationships, with my kids, out physically in the, at a park, like it's a playful approach to life. I love that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it started off in the physical for me.
Yeah,
because physical activity and movement was important. So it started there, but I realized it's once you realize it is part of us. So we have these ludic genes. We have these genes which basically promote play, and parts of our brains that are activated when we're playing, and so play enhances anything you do. So it can enhance creativity. So if you're working, if you're trying to be creative, if you have a more playful approach, one famous example is Gmail, for example. So Gmail, which pretty much everyone uses now as a personal email, right? But back in the 90s, probably 90s, late 90s, Hotmail was the email of choice, right?
Yeah.
And so a Google engineer was working on his pet project, like just mess around and just create an email system, just play around and create it. It's not work, just play. And so they created this kind of in their spare time, just messing around, and that became something that we all, many of us use. And so many innovations actually occur in this play-based space when you remove limitations and ceilings and go, you think outside of the box, right? Yeah, you kind of think differently. So that's what I find now in physical play and active play. I think differently about movement, but also when I'm thinking about the challenges I face in life and the projects that I'm going to work on, including like the animal moves, the fitness decks, and the like. It's like I want to continue to make this playful and creative, and do things that people might say, who's gonna? I remember people saying to me like, who's gonna buy a deck of cards, with some yeah. Who's gonna be interested in anything like that? Moving like an animal. Well, actually, yeah, we're animals. Let's move like animals. We're human. We're humans. Let's move like humans. We're humans. We are. So it kind of makes sense. It's kind of common sense. But in many respects, it was very novel when I first thought about this. So play now has permeated far more of my life and my decisions. And I appreciate comedy more. When you think about the absence of play, there's a play researcher, Dr. Stuart Brown, who looked back in the 50s and 60s. He was tasked with studying, he's a psychiatrist, and he was tasked with studying serial killers. And what was common to all serial killers, and what the research found was that play deprivation was what was in common. So many serial killers basically were starved of playing with toys. They were isolated. Being robbed of play was a punishment for them. Serious play deprivation. And so he found this was what was in common with many of these individuals.
Wow.
And so there was emotional stunting of development and lack of empathy, and it related to like violence in prisons, for example. So violent prisoners, those who had the least amount of play in their childhood, tend to be more violent. But yeah, so he's done lots of work in this area. And what you realize is if you remove play from your life, right? And again, many of us might think of it as physical play or playing a board game, but if you remove play, you're basically removing laughter, humor, comedy, like, art, like music expression, like all of these things that we can take for granted. They'll all disappear. And imagine how gray and bland the world would be without play, without joy. So once you have that realization, once you realize play is actually not superfluous, as many adults will say, right? It's not serious enough. I don't have the time. It's like, I'll get to play when I've done the serious stuff, rather than going, no, play first. Play is serious. You can still get all the things done that you want. You can actually be more productive, more efficient, more effective with a playful state. And that's how I feel very much about movement. So most people are naysayers. Initially may come to me and say, oh, I just want to, just tell me how many sets and reps. I just want to I want to measure. I want to, I want it to be very prescriptive. And it's like, okay, yeah, what do you want to achieve? This is what I want to achieve. Okay, we're going to get there. But wouldn't you want to get there in the most fun way possible? Yeah. Or do you really want to go the way that you feel is the only way to get there? And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, my clients will say, let's go the playful way.
Let's go play,
let's go play. And they're smashing their goals and they're doing things. I'm hosting a workshop this weekend, for example. And one of the things that's going to happen is they're all going to be pushing cars, right? And most of them are like, it's not going to happen. Like, I've seen the videos, it's just not going to happen. And of course, it is going to happen. It's definitely possible for all of them. But for many of them, they're like, it's not going to happen. I'm just going to let you know now, I've got this injury, I've got that injury, I'm not physically capable, I'm too old, but this weekend they'll all be pushing car, they'll all be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was possible. It's possible for me to push 3,000 kilos of car, up a gradient. Like, so it's incredible once you let go of the artificial constraints that come through exercise. One more thing I could think of there is, I go to a gym, right? It's my first session with a personal trainer. And they go, okay, squatting's really important. So we'll get to do some bodyweight squats. You do your bodyweight squats, and then they say, right, let's progress to using some weight. So let's put a stick on your back, a broomstick on your back. We'll practice with that first. Then we'll go to like a barbell without any weight on either side. It's like 15, 20 pounds, and then we'll progress. And of course, it's a very sensible way of doing it. It's going to reduce injury. There's some progression. There's some adaptation to you lifting more over time. If somebody comes to me, I might say, hey, piggyback someone. Piggyback some of a similar weight, right? And again, it just shows the difference in if I said to somebody in the gym, hey, first day, how heavy are you? Oh, 150 pounds. Okay, let's get 150 pounds right now and pop that on your back. no one. I mean, that'd be gross negligence of any gym instructor to do something like that. But piggyback carrying,
Yeah.
most people be like, yeah, I reckon I could do. I reckon I could do that. And not only can you lift that weight, you're going to be going for quite some distance carrying that weight. And again, it just shows a difference in approach. Where the people who would say, no, give me something really light, give me something that I know I feel comfortable with, and going, hey, how about, do you reckon you could piggyback me? It's incredible, that shift. Just think about what you could carry when you were 7 years old. If your 10-year-old sibling said, piggyback carry me, would you go, oh no, you're too heavy, you're too, oh no, you're heavy, I want to break my back? You'd probably go, I'll give it a good, I'll give it a go. Yeah. So it's that shift of like, let's give it a try. What's the worst that's going to happen? I can't do it. And I go, get off my back. Yeah.
I love that. So like people listen to this and they're like, man, I want to play more in my life, including, through the vehicle, at least in this conversation, in the physical space, recognizing like, oh, I play there, and it opens me up to other areas of my life. Tell me how people can find more of your work, like your books, your cards, you said a workshop this coming weekend. Like, where can people find all this?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, which is primalplay.com, it has lots of articles, lots of research about the power of play. I have a free ebook download on the importance of play. And that's a great starting point. It gives you some evidence, gives you some ideas of what you can do to add more playful behavior into your day-to-day life.
Nice.
And then it can just develop from there. It's wherever you want to take it. So if you want to just dabble into play every now and again, there are resources there available, videos, books, courses, and the like. But certainly it's something that's really fascinating, because I don't want to say it's addictive, but certainly, most of us are seeking pleasure in our life. Most of us are seeking joy, and we're on this journey for our entire lives of going, when I achieve this, then there'll be that kind of utopian aspect of my life. There'll be euphoria once I retire, once I hit this age, once I hit this milestone. And the reality is, like, that joy should be as much as we can in the present, in the moment, in the now. And I would say play is probably the best way, of dealing with life. I mean,
completely agree. It's a high value that I completely agree with you. Besides your website, I mentioned at the very beginning of the conversation, you're on Instagram, and you're also on other social media platforms. How do people find you on those different platforms?
Yeah, so I'm known as a fitness explorer. So if you search for @fitness explorer on Instagram, Twitter, you can find me that way. If you search for Darryl Edwards on Google, I'm pretty much the first person you'll see on Google. And I've given many talks, including a TED talk, Why Working Out Isn't Working Out. So if you've got 15 minutes or so spare, and you're like, okay, just give me the full rundown, give me the research, tell me why play is important, tell me why I hate working out, Darryl. that video is going to tell you why you hate working out, why it's okay to hate it, why most humans on the planet hate it, and what you can do instead, which is to play out more rather than thinking you have to work out.
That's awesome. Thank you, Darryl. Check out Darryl, primalplay.com. All his books and the cards and clothing. I'm a big fan, obviously. His workshops, his TED Talk and other talks. You also have a newsletter too. I'd encourage folks to sign up and be kept abreast of what you're up to and your thinking in the latest research as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fascinating how much research there is on the benefits of play, not just physically, but also cognitively as well. Yeah. So as soon as you realize it's not a waste of time, it's not just about leisure time, it's actually all of our time can be optimizing our well-being by being in this playful state. And I think for anyone working out thinking, okay, I don't feel as if I'm ready to play out, I still want to continue to work. But if you realize that by playing out or utilizing play, even doing the same type of work, you're enhancing all the benefits. So you're getting more of an endorphin rush, you're getting more of a dopamine hit, you're generating more serotonin, so you're getting more of the feel-good hormones. You're getting more visualization, so your muscles actually work harder doing the same amount of work just by thinking. You're lifting something really heavy. That the kind of imaginative way of lifting something or carrying something, just by engaging the brain in that way, will lead to more gains. So there are really no negatives apart from the perception that many have about a play.
Cool. Well, thank you, Darryl. This has been fun and very playful.
Thank you. Oh,
I appreciate your time, and like I said, I encourage everyone to check out your work. And good luck this coming weekend at your workshop.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll probably be posting quite a few videos of us fooling around. So yeah,
sounds good.
Follow my social media to see more.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Good, Michael. Take care.
There's nothing in between you and me. Nothing in between blue and sea. Nothing in between us and love.